And now, the Wad Fam Shock Pod. Hello and welcome to the Wad Fam Shock Pod. I'm Dylan Weaver.
And I'm Andrew Sabo.
We're here this week to start the Rydell Saga with episode 802, Parker for President.
Not a charged time to be covering a political episode at all, actually.
No, it actually worked out nicely because there was a debate in this episode that was more civil than the one last week.
Yeah, I'm glad that you said that because that's how I felt and I wasn't sure if we were going to go there.
Yeah, apparently that's how I'm starting off this episode. Hi, new listeners.
Hi.
It's a pleasure to meet you.
Yeah.
What do we do here, Andrew?
Well, to be honest, no. We you and me, good friends, longtime friends, lovers of adventures in Odyssey. We go back and listen to old episodes and new episodes, and we talk about them. Sometimes with guests, sometimes just us. We cover long, plot-oriented arcs typically. But yeah, it's just a lot of fun and a good way to look back at something that was really important to us in our childhood and see it for what it is, what holds up, what doesn't. Yeah, I mean, I would say that the reason that the show's been on for 2 years is because we both like making it a good bit.
You summed that up really well.
Thank you.
Yeah, as kind of referenced there, we've been doing this show for 2 years. We started out covering Novacom. We then covered Connie and Mitch. We covered Twilight Zone, which everyone loved unequivocally.
Oh, yeah.
And we wrapped Blackguard this past summer. So we were kind of looking forward on what to do. And both Andrew and I more or less dropped off on Odyssey around Green Ring.
Mm-hmm.
And not just that, but like anything after album 50, at least on my end, I've only heard the once.
Yeah.
So I listened through Green Ring and maybe even a couple things off albums after that, but I'm not super familiar with it because it wasn't on repeat the way the first 50 albums of Odyssey are.
Yeah, I went through a time where I listened to Green Ring a couple times. I think I listened to it once or twice, maybe 3 times. Because I did have that one on CD.
Yeah.
But I think that was the last album of Odyssey I did get on CD and I owned and that was it.
Yeah, what's even a CD?
I don't know, honestly.
Now we just have the AIO Club.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of our history with Odyssey and the show. And so now we are jumping into an era of Odyssey, which, well, we did accidentally touch on at one point. We did cover a Sacrificial Escape last year. If you're interested on that, you can go back and listen. But now we're talking about Parker for President. We are on album 61.
The dizzying heights of album 61.
Without a Hitch.
Yeah.
Is the name of the album. This is track 2. This is an episode that came out in 2016, which is crazy. This episode came out after I graduated high school.
Yeah. Wow.
So
when did this come out? In February 2nd?
No. So this episode debuted on the, at the time, Odyssey Adventure Club, before it got renamed to the Adventures in Odyssey Club. And it came out on July 14th, 2016, or at least that's when the album came out. The wiki's not super clear on if all the episodes released simultaneously on the OA Club. These days they don't, but 2016 might have been different.
When is Election Day in November?
So,
is that the 5th?
No, so this episode then aired on the radio November 5th of 2016, which would be the Saturday before the election.
Which is
so the election's on a Tuesday. Yep. New episodes of Odyssey always air on Saturdays now. And so this is the episode that came out on the radio right before the presidential election.
Wow.
In 2016. This is an episode that is pre the Trump era.
Yeah.
It is both far newer than the episodes I've listened to and surprisingly old.
Yeah. No, especially when considering this is like the Rydell Saga, which is what we're covering and is wrapping up now.
Right. And it's only been like 9 episodes over like 4 years.
Yeah.
Which is
nutty.
So bizarre.
Yeah. Well, this is, I mean,
and Odyssey doesn't release as many as many episodes these days. Like I know some of that, but it still is like kind of blows my mind that like all of Green Rain came out back to back to back, and then they did some wrap up after that. And this has been going on for 4 years.
Yeah.
And it's not that many episodes. So that'll be really interesting to talk about kind of as we go through, I think.
For sure, yeah. And I mean, just putting myself, I didn't realize this until literally right now as to when this came out. I just kind of threw it in the category of roughly new Odyssey, where it could have been something that was commentating on something that had already happened in the real world or something that was going to happen. I didn't really know. But now that I'm like, wow, no, this was intentionally done by Focus on the Family and put on the radio for people to hear right before the presidential election.
Right. And so it was written and recorded and stuff. You know, actually, the record date is February 2nd, 2016. Apparently, that's something that we know about New Odyssey is when they were recorded.
Nice.
Which is kind of cool. And so that is... So it's I mean...
Can we talk about the fact that it's called Salami Studios?
Oh, yeah. That's their studio where they record most episodes.
Really?
I don't know why.
We never talked about...
I don't think we have talked about that.
What?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Salami Studios.
There it is.
Named after Mitch's sweater that looked like salami, or was it Connie's sweater? What's the salami thing?
Mitch says salami. I think Connie gets salami on her sweater.
No. I think her sweater looks like salami.
What?
I'm pretty sure. This was definitely in Novacom. People tweet at us. Our Twitter is @WadFamChalkPod. Or send us an email, wadfamchalkpod@gmail.com.
That was right off the target.
Or drop us a voice memo at anchor.fm/wadfamchalkpod. Any of those ways, your message will get to us. Let me know what the deal with salami is. If that is, in fact, a descriptor of Connie's sweater. And also, if the name of the studio is at all tied to that.
Oh, yeah. No, I think that this is the time in which we go on the WadFam Shockpod Twitter and we just ask, what is the deal with Salami Studios? And let the internet do the work for us.
Yeah. So there's that. Other things about this episode. Written by Kathy Buchanan. Directed by Phil Lawler.
Nice.
And as it is the first episode of this new series and era that we are talking about, we've got a lot of cast stuff to go through.
Let's do it.
So, first off, we have Justin Felbinger as Matthew Parker. He was a voice in The Nut Job 2, Nutty by Nature, The Lion Guard, and The Boss Baby Back in Business. At the time of recording this, he was 13 or 14.
Wow.
Which I think is important to establish for a reason that we're about to hit on. So his older sister, being Olivia Parker, is played by Kelly Stables. We've talked about Kelly in the past because she voiced Jill in Kidsborough, which was very apparent if you listen to that episode, because it is not that different a voice. And at that time, when we were talking about those episodes, we did hit on some of her background, but just as a refresher, she plays Kelly on Superstore, a sitcom that I quite like, and also Arrowette on Young Justice, a show that I really like, and did an episode of a podcast about. The link will be in the description. Apparently, I'm just shilling all episode today.
We're just going. Yeah, we're just endless
plugs
self-plug.
But so the point I want to draw here is that she is an adult.
Yes.
And she is playing the older sister of a child.
Of a 13-year-old.
Right. We then have Christina Pucelli as Emily Jones. She's done a voice in the show Alan Gregory, The Loud House, and voiced Miss Martian in DC Superhero Girls.
Nice.
Also, an adult, which is really weird. So we've talked a lot about how like Adventures in Odyssey likes to cast kids in the kid roles and like how fun that is and whatnot. So like at the time of Green Ring Conspiracy, we have a 7 or 8 year old doing the voice of Matthew Parker, and the Parker Jones Detective Agency, like this like dynamic duo in the show. Christina Pucelli, who is a full-blown adult, is like the count. Like she was born in 1969. She is a couple days. She's like 2 weeks older than my father.
Wow.
And she was like the counterpart to a literal child, which is just really bizarre.
Yeah, can you imagine just having that youthful of a voice? Like, I do not think, and maybe it's the smoking, but I don't think that my voice is going to age like that.
Well, yeah, it's really common in animation to have, like, adults voicing kids.
No, but
it's just weird that Odyssey has both kids voicing kids and adults versus kids voicing kids, and they are interacting so closely. That's just like an interesting dynamic.
Well, and you know, child voice actors are really hard to do, and like it's child actors in general is difficult to work around. So like I can understand perhaps why they would want to lean away from it whenever they possibly can. But at the same time, considering how much they used to really heavily rely on it, it is very surprising to me that like they can get that kind of chemistry out of somebody that's like
that's
50
what I was gonna
years
say,
older.
Is like the point, like that I'm like the thing is not to be like, oh, this doesn't work. It's like, oh, I listened to this and I never once thought that, and then I was researching and I was like, whoa, that's like
pretty nutty,
kind of crazy. We also then have Natalie Lander as Zoe. She is done actually like a bunch of like on-screen appearances. She was a character called Debbie in the show The Middle. She appeared as Amanda on 13 Reasons Why, and also was in 2 episodes of Hannah Montana.
As who?
Annie?
Nope, doesn't ring a bell.
It was a 2-part episode that she was in.
Wait, what was the episode called? Because there's a good chance I could remember based on that.
I'm not going to look it up.
Understood.
We got to keep moving. I can't anecdote all day.
I understood.
Also, at this point, younger considerably than both Christina Pucelli and to some extent Kelly Stables, but also like an adult. And we have Atticus Schaefer voicing Maury Rydell. So Atticus Schaefer is also was a voice for the Lion Guard with Justin Felbinger, which is, I don't know, interesting connection, but is notable as being the character of Brick in The Middle. Which The Middle is not a show I've ever watched, and we just talked about the fact that Natalie Lander was in it as a character called Debbie, but like the character of Brick in The Middle is still like a character I have a reference point for.
Yeah. Interesting. So the janitor from Scrubs is the dad on The Middle. Yeah. So I care about The Middle tangentially because of Scrubs, and now it is all full circle.
There you go. He's also been a voice on shows like Pete the Cat and Steven Universe.
Nice.
And so at the time of recording this, he's like 17 or 18. So yeah,
cool.
He's essentially my age, which is fun. Then we also have, rounding out the cast, John Rubinow as Principal Vogler. We know him because he was Agent Del Hayworth in the Other Side of the Glass.
That makes sense.
And we have Bob Hoose, Odyssey voice extraordinaire, as Mr. Redicop.
Oh, yes.
Which we'll get into. Okay, one more thing
before we roll the promo.
Before we roll the promo.
Good God, I feel like we've been doing this for hours.
I know. We've been speeding through it.
Yeah,
but there's a lot to cover off the top, and like I really want to set the stage for what we're getting into, because
We're excited.
Because I don't know what's coming.
Exactly.
I truly have no reference point for what is ahead.
We are journeying into unknown territory.
I know. It's never happened before. I mean, it's happened before for Andrew, but not for me.
I don't know what that's supposed to mean.
You didn't know the other side of the glass when we covered
Oh,
it.
yes.
So, the other thing I would just like to throw out, then you can use any of the previously mentioned ways of contacting us for this, but the official guide doesn't get this modern.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you guys know of trivia just from being part of the Adventures in Odyssey community, and you have non-spoilery trivia for us, send us an email. Probably not a tweet, but I mean, we'd take a tweet or a voice memo and just put in the subject line what episode it's trivia for. Make sure it's not a spoiler, and we'll read/play it so that we can talk about it, because I think it is, there is, interesting... I'm sure there's interesting anecdotes and stuff to talk about here. I just don't have... I don't have the resources to scour the internet for that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have a book with all the answers in it. So, if you guys know of, little tidbits of trivia that we can sprinkle in throughout, send them our way. I can't guarantee that we'll talk about them.
But they will be appreciated.
Yeah, exactly. I'll at the very least enjoy them, and when we can, we'll talk about them. So we'll be releasing episodes every week, coming out on Tuesdays. So get in, and our recording schedule is kind of all over the place. So just get in the trivia whenever you can for specific episodes, and just make sure you label what episode it's for. That way we don't spoil ourselves, and we can, talk about it while we're recording the episode.
All right.
Cool.
Deep breath.
Yeah.
Want to roll the promo?
Oh boy. Here we go. New Odyssey.
On the next adventure in Odyssey, Matthew takes on a new challenge at Odyssey Middle School.
I can't believe I just signed up to run for student body president.
Emily Jones is by his side.
I'm going to be your campaign manager.
But there's a wrinkle from his sister Olivia.
I'm going to be the next school president. I'm running too. Really?
It's Parker versus Parker. Next time on Adventures in Odyssey.
Man, New Odyssey promos have just gotten boring.
Yeah.
Like I appreciate that they're not insane like the old ones are.
No, this is
but
respectable.
I'm like, man, what do I talk about when they're just good?
Yeah, what do we do when there's no mice talking? Like, what do we do then?
It's so much more fun when we can rip into them for making no sense and being weird. But no, that's a good promo. It sets the stage. I like that Chris is doing the narration.
They're coming
I like
through.
that we hear a little bit of each character talking.
Mm-hmm.
It's good.
It's real good. That's real solid. They figured it out. They took the rights back from whoever was doing it before.
Yeah.
Big proud. So, this episode, as the promo mentions, is all takes place in, well, not all of it, but most of it takes place in Odyssey Middle School.
Yes.
And it centers around a student council race. The episode begins with Matthew Parker and who was it, Olivia? No, Olivia's not till later. Emily talking about the grant money that the school is going to receive, because they got this big grant and they're thinking about where is it going to go to. They talk to somebody that's like higher up in the school, like is it a principal or a teacher or something? And he said, "Oh, well, as much as we value your input, like the student body president is going to have a big say as far as where that funding goes. So you should consider running for office." And that kind of sets up the premise for this episode, which is a student body president race.
Yeah. So it's Principal Vogel is the person you were trying to find there. Yeah. Right. So our cast of characters, we've got Zoe, who is the one who kind of comes in and breaks the news. Mm-hmm. I guess she is the reporter person.
Yeah.
That's kind of her character.
The new Robin Jacobs.
Yeah, sure. I like that. We've got Olivia, who is Matthew's older sister, though, like, I guess only by, like, maybe a year or two. They're in middle school together.
Yeah. I get the idea that Odyssey Middle School is like a 6th, 7th, and 8th grade situation.
Yeah. And then we have Matthew and Emily, who are like this duo. They're like the detectives, good friends. Yeah, Matthew and Olivia are siblings. We already said that. And yeah, so it's them talking about like, oh, hey, there's this new grant, which Matthew knew because he reads the school board minutes, because he's a nerd. And they all have different ideas on what they could use that grant money for.
Yeah.
So Matthew's like, oh, obviously new computers. I'm a nerd. And then someone throws out that like, we should repaint the walls because it's this avocado green paint from the 70s that, according to study, causes nausea and depression.
I take a lot of classes regarding the mental health, and nothing I've seen has been linked to paint color and those sorts of things. But yeah, I could see avocado green walls being kind of nasty.
Yeah, I would like to point out that
the color of your walls are like slightly old avocado.
No, the point I wanted to make, which I just thought, talking about paint causing nausea and depression and it being from the 70s, it wasn't until 1978 that lead-based paint was banned.
Oh.
So it could just be lead paint.
Yeah.
In which case, they should get that sorted out.
Yeah, that would be bad. Maybe that's the secret to Odyssey. Like, everybody's just a little bit crazy because all their paint has leaded.
I mean, it's an old town.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's
the premise. That's what we're going. And
yeah,
there's basically deciding like, well, there's these kind of power dynamics. Like, the money's always going to go to the athletes in the school and the funding, which is very interesting.
Teams are bad. The soccer team made more catches than the football team, which is a pretty good joke.
Yeah. Oh, that's a pretty good joke. And I feel for that goalie if he's got to catch the ball that much. Oh,
I was thinking the joke is that soccer people can't use hands, but.
Oh no, I was thinking that they're just getting trounced in that poor goalie. But, that could just be me reading into it.
No, that would probably make more sense. I'm not a soccer guy.
Yeah, well, I am, so that's why we work so well together.
Yeah, exactly.
Because there's so much demand for me to talk about soccer on this Adventures in Odyssey podcast.
This is truly, under the hood, a podcast about sports.
Yeah, with a question mark.
Yeah, sports. We then have a new person show up, a child named Maury with an incredibly squeaky voice.
Yeah, poor guy.
Yeah.
Apparently, though, we find out later, this guy is an absolute baller.
Oh, yeah.
This guy
dude gets stuff done.
He is real good at running campaigns, and we'll get to it, because I got suspects.
Oh, you got suspects. All right. So then, what? We've got...
Maury's looking for a room because he's the nude kid.
Yes.
And Olivia helps him find the room.
Yep. That's
it.
Yep.
That's essentially it.
Yeah. But that's our introduction to Maury, as we will later find out, Rydell.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah. A man so special he gets a saga named after him, or maybe it's like his family at large. Maybe we've got like an Erica Colburn situation or something.
Yes, could
time will tell. That's another thing just to point out. Don't spoil stuff for us,
please.
Hashtag don't spoil the Rydell Saga.
Yeah, hashtag don't spoil the Rydell Saga. I'll put it on my normal Twitter. Seriously, please don't ruin this for me. I'm enjoying this, and sometimes in life you need to hold on to things like stories you haven't heard before to keep you going.
So yeah. And then what? Oh, it's the thing you already talked about with Vogler explaining, hey, the school board determines where the money goes, but the student body president will have a voice. So, like, if you want to impact that, you should run, Matthew. Which, I think is pretty cool.
Yeah. And teachers enabling kids to do things and step outside of their comfort zone, like that's a classic good teacher move.
Yeah. And then Emily volunteers to be Matthew's campaign manager.
Yeah, no, and it's so sweet, and you know, I know that especially coming off last episode where we were very negative, I would like to say that I absolutely loved this episode through and through. It was so delightful. Like, Odyssey Middle School is like one of my favorite environments for Odyssey to exist in, at least personally. Like, I just think it's so
there's
fun.
a lot of good Odyssey Middle School stories.
And it's interesting because it's a show that markets so well towards people that aren't in public school, yet all of their kids are in public school.
Right.
And the things that I like the most about it are the public school things.
Yeah, it's wish fulfillment.
Sure.
For all the homeschool kids.
Yeah, it's great.
And so, yeah, I will say a struggle for me. I did listen through part of this episode a second time. Mm-hmm. Part of it, just a struggle for me off the bat was like really struggling to like identify which character was which from their voice, especially with like the three female characters with Zoe, Olivia, and Emily. And that's not a criticism of their performances or of the show, but just like an interesting observation for me being like, oh, right.
Children kind of all sound the same sometimes.
Just, these are characters I'm not, like, intimately familiar with.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, oh, this is probably the experience that everyone else has listening to a like, if you know, Joe Schmo on the street puts on a random episode Odyssey, they're gonna struggle with this. But I know these characters so well that it doesn't, like, that it's not hard.
Yeah.
But then this episode, I was like, oh. Yeah. So, like, I'm like, all right, like, I'm pretty sure that Emily is the one volunteering to be the Matthews campaign manager, and then obviously, like, I'm right. Mm-hmm. But, like, the other thing is, like, right off the top of the episode, it's Zoe running down the hall yelling Olivia, Emily, and Matthew's names. Mm-hmm. Just to, like, and I was like, oh, I never clocked it before. But Odyssey is really quick to establish character names, which is so important in a show that doesn't have visual cues. And, like, of course that's how they do it. And it's never stuck out to me until this time.
Because it was new.
Right, because I didn't already know the names.
Yeah, exactly.
And so, yeah, because I could be wrong about this, but, like, I don't think Zoe's not a character I was at all familiar with. Whereas, like, Emily and Matthew pretty much, and Olivia, like, only really because of Matthew. So yeah, it's that interesting thing of just like, oh yeah, I'm getting to know, like, this new cast of kids. And Odyssey's doing a good job of, like, establishing them pretty quickly.
Yeah. No, it's so basically Matthew Parker was, you know, encouraged to run.
Yeah.
And he is worried about it. You know, he sounds young, honestly. His voice sounds very young in this episode. And so, like, hearing the idea of him and me, like, kind of empathizing with that, like, wow, that would be terrifying to run for student body. But it's actually very funny because I was just given the opportunity to run for student council at the college that I go to. So it kind of hit me in a way that was very close to home because I haven't quite decided if it was something I wanted to invest in or not. And then hearing this episode, I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. We'd be living in the future. Everything all be working out, timeline and whatnot.
Yeah. And so, yeah, we have a really a great scene of Odyssey, just through and through. Which is, so, like, they have this little run-in in the cafeteria where, like, Emily and Matthew, like, run up to Olivia and are like, hey, like, Matthew's gonna run for student council. And Olivia's like, oh, yeah, me too. And then we have this scene where Olivia comes downstairs in the middle of the night and Matthew's up. And
this is such a good scene.
It's great.
This feels very much like something that's happened in my life.
It's so good. And so they're kind of talking about stuff. Matthew's talking about just being nervous. He offers her milk and cookies, presumably Oreos, because he has eaten the filling out of every one of them.
Because he's stressed.
Right.
You know what? I'm stressed. I eat the filling out of things.
Right. And then she's like, oh yeah, like
could you imagine
like,
buying donuts in that house?
Right.
Just Matthew Parker running through with like a bread knife, just spooning out the custard.
And then he's like, oh, or someone makes reference to the infamous Jelly Donut episode, and I was like obviously they were talking about like episode as in like event, but I'm also like curious.
Is there a Jelly Donut episode?
Is that a thing? Like, are they calling back something, or is this just like fleshing out the character?
We probably
because
won't
it could
cover
go
it.
either way, and I think that's fun.
But if it is real, please let me know, because I am actually personally interested in listening to an episode that revolves around a Jelly Donut, because those are my favorite.
I can't do a jelly donut. I like cream. I don't like jelly or custard. My donuts.
Cream is good.
Cream's good, or just no filling.
No filling is good. Honestly, as a child, very pro filling, and the older I get, the more I'm like, I don't know that I really need it.
Yeah.
I think a good sprinkle donut is...
Donuts already got so much going for it. Like I just like a plain donut that is glazed.
It's good
delicious.
glaze. Because you get that, yeah.
But yeah, and
This has been Donut Corner.
Yeah. And so I just, man, I love this scene. So it's Matthew talking about how he's nervous, and Olivia, even though like they're gonna be opponents, like being really encouraging to him and being like just great older sibling thing.
Yeah, talking
and, like,
about
hey,
like
I think like I think you've actually got like a good chance at this, and like I wish you the best. And
Matthew's worried because he's not a person that is comfortable being in charge and being in front of people.
Right.
And like being a leader is hard, and Olivia really comforts him and is like, no, being a leader isn't necessarily hard. You just have to be willing to make decisions, because a lot of times that's kind of what being a leader looks like. And that's true. Like, yeah, leaders do make decisions. That's what leaders are for. But, you know, decisions do have consequences. So, like, he's not necessarily wrong to be worried about it, but I really like how she kind of brings herself down to his level and is just like, no, we're just all people. And, you know, the only reason that I'm good at it is because, like, I've become a person that's comfortable telling people what I want.
The thing I really like in this little bit is like, oh, we've got siblings like interacting in Odyssey in a way that like I don't feel like we had, at least for like a good portion of the show. Like we have Jimmy and Donna stuff early on, and like there's definitely like we get some Trent and Jared stuff, I guess technically. And then right nowadays, like not nowadays, and then like we had like Mandy and her brother, or like there's definitely been sibling relationships in the show, but I don't know that there's been one quite like this, and so that was just like a really nice thing to see.
Yeah. Well, and it's something that the thing that New Odyssey does for me that I have issues with is like, I think that it's not necessarily bad. I observe it as something that's different than what it used to be. And it seems like this and episodes like this that make me feel like, oh no, it's different. Yeah. But it's very similar. Like this could be a Called On in Class era episode, you know, this could be something like that. And
yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
if you just sub in different kids, you've got a whole different episode. But yeah, so moving on, the following day.
Oh, wait, sorry. I just want to point this out.
Oh, go for it.
Of like, they leave this conversation on like such great terms that you're like, oh, okay, so this isn't gonna last.
Yes, yeah.
Like, it's such a fantastic scene, but there is that thing at the end where you're like,
uh-oh.
And this is not going to be sustainable.
4 minutes into the episode?
Yeah.
And no conflict yet. All right. So the next day that's when like the campaign manager scene shakes out, right?
So Emily is going to be Matthew's campaign's
manager. No
That
surprise
was
there.
already established, and like, of course.
Zoe can't be Olivia's campaign manager because she's a member of the press.
Right. She's like their official media person, and Olivia's kind of broken up about this. You get the idea that like Olivia and Zoe are close friends.
Yeah, they're buds.
And then Zoe's like, no, it's okay. The new guy you met yesterday, Maury Rydell.
He's a baller.
He was a campaign manager at 2 previous schools that were overseas, and he won both of their elections by a landslide.
That's not suspect at all.
No, I don't think it is.
No, not necessarily, but wow, that is so convenient.
I just think that it's hilarious that this is, like, that this is a known thing.
The saving grace for this episode is one middle schooler's previous political experience.
Right, that's the thing. And he doesn't want to, like, they come to him and he's like, I'm retired. And it's like, then how did they find out about the previous thing? Mm-hmm. Like, did you just, like, was that, like, did that make news? And, like, Zoe was able to, like, dig up international papers, like, looking for background information on Maury, and then came across, like, oh, he's a campaign manager. Hey, I need one of those.
What if it was all a lie? Like, what if he just made that up?
What if he's lived in the U.S. his entire life and it's all fiction?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm open to that possibility.
We don't know.
And then, yeah. So then, Olivia kind of corners him and gets him to come out of retirement.
Yep.
Which is a pretty charming scene.
Yeah.
And then we cut to Matthew and Emily, who have been lent a janitor's closet by a cowboy?
Presumably.
Pretty sure the janitor is a cowboy.
And he works part-time at Old West Fun World.
Great
Janitors
point.
make it work.
Of course, that is his...
They're not paid much.
Man, Andrew, now I'm just mad that I didn't come up with that joke.
Well, you know, it was bound to happen eventually. Blind
well done,
squirrel
sir.
finds a nut every once in a while.
You made that comment last episode.
I'm sure I did.
And so Emily starts, explaining her strategy. She's like, all right, I took a poll with, like, the volleyball team. You need to be Matt, and we need you to be likable. And then he makes a joke about kissing babies.
Yeah.
Which is like a politician thing that I think Odyssey has riffed on before.
Oh, they have, yeah.
Because
yeah.
I think it's truly something that I found out as a child about through Odyssey.
Yeah, no, for sure. No, because Tom talks about it in Tom for Mayor. And we've covered that.
Oh, okay.
There's like either him or Bart, somebody says it.
I didn't even clock the Tom for Mayor thing.
I didn't until now.
Because I was like, of course Odyssey has done other campaign episodes, and then I was like, man, like what? I was like, oh, right, of course. At the point which I made the connection where I was like, oh, Olivia is Jill, and also Jill was like Kidsborough had that whole arc.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, oh, right. So it's like it's
a little bit of deja vu.
Yeah, it's a bit like that, but I didn't even think about the fact that it's also a bit like Tom for Mayor.
Yeah.
Which is funny. But
so basically Matthew, so what we've then set up is the campaign is now afoot. Right?
Yes.
We've got these two candidates that are doing different things, and we get this big picture of like the social scene at this middle school. We've got all these clubs and these groups of people.
Special interest groups.
Yeah, special interest.
Lobbyists.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yes. We've got drama club. We've got computer club. We've got Chinese club.
We do a Chinese club.
And we have athletics, which is just
we've got
all of
band.
Them. We've got band.
Yeah.
And
so Olivia
like
starts out like she's got drama in her pocket.
Yeah, because she does the drama. Makes sense.
Yep. And Matthew has computer club in his pocket.
Yep.
Also, we should point out they both have great campaign slogans, but I would like to state that Emily's is better than two-time landslide campaign manager Maury Rydell's. It's Matt Parker, your friend for president.
Yeah.
Which is very good. Or vote Olivia for a better tomorrow, which is just basic.
Yeah.
I like Matt Parker. Your friend for president.
That's so good.
It's good.
That's
I
so
like
good.
it. It's so good in like a middle school context. Well done, Emily.
Man, I'm gonna steal that and use it if I run for student body at LBC.
Perfect.
Your friend for president.
For president. Yeah. So then Maury starts going through his strategy. And he's like, all right, the band members want more uniforms and more respect. And then we jump to Olivia giving a speech in the band room that is a very good speech.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And yeah, it was while she was giving the speech that I was like, because I didn't do any of the context stuff beforehand because I like to go in as cold as I can. And I was like, oh shoot, she's Jill, isn't she?
Yeah.
Like much just
very
like,
much
especially with like the patriotic music underneath, and Jill was like the cop kid.
Yeah,
like
and
it just
asserting yourself.
Yes.
And just, yeah.
Yes. And I was like, oh, okay. I just made this connection.
Yeah. That was so good.
Yeah.
And yeah, so we get that.
Yep.
And yeah, so it seems pretty clear that Olivia is kind of winning because she's more charismatic, right?
Correct.
So Matthew Parker's whole thing is that he's a good candidate, but he's not the person that people would vote for, even though has good ideas.
Yeah. Yeah. And
so now we see them kind of both going at each other because of a conversation with Zoe and Maury. Exactly.
So Maury it goes up to Zoe and he's like, hey, so Olivia's next speech is going to be here if you want to cover it. And Olivia's like, what is even the point?
Yeah, she's just going to win.
She is so far ahead.
Like 40
points.
Polls.
Like there's no reason to cover this. People don't care about my coverage of it. Because like
it's all but over.
Yeah. And so Maury's like, we'll just like stir up some controversy.
Yeah. He's like, people love drama. People love controversy. People engage with that because it's something interesting.
Yep.
They don't want answers. They want to be engaged.
I think it's interesting that Maury's like, hey, Zoe, stir up controversy. And then she doesn't really.
No. Yeah.
Like Matthew and like she might egg him on a little bit, but Matthew and Olivia do this to themselves.
Yeah.
And then Maury has an incredibly biting line of, we're just lucky that Matthew and Olivia don't act like some of the real politicians out there.
Yeah, seriously.
We're going to try and keep cool. So yeah, then Matthew's freaking out about how Olivia's got the band and the athletes and even the Chinese club. And they're trying to strategize on how to get some of this back. Yeah. And Olivia's got some plans. Or not Olivia, sorry. Emily's got some ideas.
Yeah, and she wants... So basically Matthew's really worried. Like, he's concerned because he's behind by 40 points. And, Emily gives him good advice. Like, in the sense that, like, do what you do best, and that's problem solve. And tell people how you're solving problems, and they're gonna like that. Yeah. And that's a pretty good campaign strategy, and it seems to actually work for him.
This episode feels, I don't know, feels a little bit like what would happen if I ran against Andrew in an election.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I've got the solutions. Andrew's
got the charisma. Yeah.
Tweet at us and let us know which one of us is more charismatic. I am kidding. Do not.
If we were to both run for president, who would you vote for?
You know what? No, that I might actually do.
Yeah,
is
do a
put
Twitter
up
poll?
a Twitter poll.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
It could be done.
Yep. Nope. That'll go up with the with the promos
for
on Twitter,
student
and I'll maybe do a you can do polls in an Instagram story, right? I'll do
yes.
that as
yes,
well.
you can.
All right, that's gonna happen.
Epic.
Vote for me. I'm better than Andrew.
You're probably right, but you could give me a shot.
But Andrew, I can edit this podcast and just make you look dumb.
It's so easy. This is the problem, and we've had the conversation off, Mike. I can never run for office because of all of the recorded things that you have of me saying stupid things.
It's true. I have a folder.
The campaign of me against Dylan would last all of however long it would take for him to upload that file.
Well, it would last all of how long it would take for me to disregard my ethics, tying back into the episode. Look at that.
Hey.
Boom.
What a segue.
Oh, man. Dude, we're nailing it. So then their plan is, hey, we're going to go after the theater club. She had that by default, but let's see what we can do.
Yeah.
And then so we have a scene of Zoe telling Olivia, like, hey, so the theater club is going to vote for Matthew. And I was like, oh, so this is Zoe, like, stirring up controversy? But no,
the theater club is going to vote for Matthew because Matthew just balled out and was like, yo, I will get you a new sound system and a new...
He's basically like the high school will give us their old equipment, which is better than what we have.
Yeah.
And I can like make all that happen as president. Great plan.
He's already talked to him. He's already done the work. This guy is insane.
Already lined it up. And so maybe part of the problem that Odyssey's trying to point out is, hey, they're like doing all of this like lobbying and pandering and making campaign promises, which not a great look.
However, it did make sense.
Right.
Like, I would say that my issue with lobbying and pandering and stuff is when people make promises that they cannot keep to. But if he's already had a conversation with these people, that sounds like a done deal to me.
Right, and it's not like we know what their policy is, really. Like, their campaigns are solely just like, hey, what can I do for the people who vote for me? Mm-hmm. Which might be a parallel.
Ooh, that's a little hot right there.
Woohoo! But yeah, so now they get mad at each other. Mm-hmm. They have a confrontation.
In front of the drama club.
Yep. And it was at this point that it finally clicked for me that the title refers to both Parkers.
Yep.
I know. That should have been extremely obvious. But the thing was, I knew who Matthew Parker was before this episode. So I read the title and thought, okay, Matthew Parker is running for president.
Yes.
And then at this point I realized, oh no, they're siblings. Both their names is Parker. The title is clever.
And another point as to why you should vote for Dylan over me, I didn't realize that until just right now, so...
All right, because you were responding as though I was saying the most obvious thing in the world.
No. I would just like to clearly say that I only figured that out now.
Were you also thinking it was just about Matthew?
Yeah, well, no, when I looked at the episode, I was like... And I didn't think about the fact that Parker could work for both of them until I literally looked at the URL for the website.
Yeah. So then... Olivia's like, okay, I'm going to go after the computer club. Mm-hmm. Emily finds out about that via a note that was put in her locker. Mm-hmm. And she goes, I don't know how it got in there. Someone must have my combo. Every locker I've ever seen in my entire life has slats that people put notes through.
Yes.
That's the thing.
That lockers do, yes.
Right. If they didn't, they would, there'd be no ventilation and everything would smell so bad and all of that.
It's also pretty easy to break into lockers.
Sure. But,
we have electronic codes at my ones at work, and you could just pop those bad boys open with a pair of scissors. Nothing is safe.
But just thinking about, school lockers and, there's no reason that someone would have to have broken into her locker to leave a note.
But breaking into lockers is Odyssey's classic move.
I know.
They broke into my locker. Oh my gosh.
I know. But it's just come on, detective girl.
Maybe Odyssey is the reason that I secretly wanted to have a locker.
I mean, dude, I think Odyssey is the reason, has defined so many homeschoolers, ideas of what public school is like.
Yeah, that's fair.
But yeah, so anyways, that weird aside where she's convinced someone broke into her locker, despite it just being a piece of paper that was put in, so there was a piece of paper put in with a tip saying, hey, Olivia's going after the computer club.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
Who could it be? Certainly not Maury.
I mean, it could be Zoe.
Could be.
Well, the only...
To stir up controversy.
Right. So we get the idea that, like, Zoe's quote-unquote trying to stir up controversy, even though she's just telling them stuff. But she was the one who told Olivia that the theater club was going to vote for Matthew. Mm-hmm. So it wouldn't be surprising that she also told Emily that the computer club was going to vote for Olivia.
Wow. What do you mean? Like, the media can sometimes intentionally sabotage actually valuable political endeavors for personal monetary gain?
Yeah, and play both sides.
Oh, I love it. Oh, man.
And so, right. So it's at this point that they have this big fight in front of the computer club, and things are starting to get more heated, and they are going at each other, not as hard as they will, but a little bit harder. And there is the incredible back and forth of Olivia saying, I inspire, and Matthew responding, you conspire. And
you perspire.
Olivia comes back with you perspire.
That one hit home.
It's so good. I love it.
Yeah.
It's like a Weird Al lyric. Like,
yeah. No, it is. It is. It's like
it.
They're riffing off each other, and it becomes very clearly familial, because then she's like, and you sleep with this stuffed animal
that
named
doesn't
blah, blah,
happen
blah.
until the radio
Until
show.
the debate.
Yeah.
Until the debate. But it's...
Yeah. But we're
shouldn't get ahead
building
of myself.
here. And so like Olivia's big thing is like, hey, like she asks Matthew to explain, like, hey, how would you get new computers for the computer club? And he starts getting like weirdly technical, and she mimes snoring, and then is like, look, man, like, I can actually go to the board and present hey, this is how you should do, you should get computers. And
like,
this
Matthew
is how
has
to
great
do it.
ideas, but I'm the person that's going to get things done.
Right. Very much so. And then Zoe's like, all right, let's just have an official debate. Mm-hmm. So they set it up for tomorrow, being broadcast on kids radio. Zoe is moderating. And yeah, they both kind of give their taglines, and then it very quickly devolves into them throwing out things that the other have said in private, talking about Matthew not being confident for running, talking about Olivia dissing the athletes, back and forth until we get to the stuffed animals and the fact that he used to have a stuffed elephant named Mr. Bumbleshoot.
Yeah. It's an elephant.
Yeah.
Why would you name an elephant Bumbleshoot?
I don't know. He's a child.
That's fair. My imaginary friend was named Bunker.
Right. I believe that has been established on the show.
Probably.
We've been doing this for 2 years.
Yeah.
Anyways, this debate hit home a little hard in that it's just chaos and them making fun of each other and the moderator not doing a great job.
Oh boy.
Yeah. And then
but democracy is an important thing, and it's valuable to participate.
And then like
regardless of
Emily
what side
like
of the aisle
rushes
you're on.
onto the stage and tries to like be the bigger moderator. And at that point I was like, okay, odds are pretty good now that Emily becomes president at the end of this episode, because she steps on stage and like says some good stuff.
No, Emily is the hero of this episode, undoubtedly.
She steps on, says some good stuff, and I'm like, oh shoot, Emily's gonna become president. And I was like, oh wait, or is like the thought that like Maury will become president.
Yeah.
And so then we go to the next scene, and the principal invites Olivia, Matthew, and Emily into his office to discuss the winner, and they say, hey, Maury doesn't need to come in. And I'm like, okay, it is going to be Emily, isn't it?
Yeah.
And so then the principal's like, yeah, so neither of you won. Emily won on a write-in campaign where they received like a bunch of anonymous texts and emails like rallying the student body together. And I was like, oh, so that was Maury.
Yeah, that was Maury.
So Maury sent out a bunch of these texts to get Emily to be the leader. No idea why. That benefits him. Yeah, that was the only thing I thought, is like, does Maury have a crush on Emily? Is that the point here? But
or he's going to use her as a puppet.
Who knows?
We don't know.
But Emily's kind of reluctant, and both Matthew and Olivia, like, I like that they are both like, yeah, we were idiots, and also like, you're well equipped to do this, you should do it.
Yeah.
It's just nice, the level of, like, the lack of vitriol now that they're like out of the limelight, out of the heat of the moment.
Yeah.
That there hasn't been like permanent damage done, that they're still like siblings. And
the hard thing that this
she
episode...
feels bad for telling everyone that, you know, about the name of his stuffed animals.
Yeah.
And that sort of thing.
The hard thing that this episode does is that it shows how politics can dehumanize the politicians, and how politics, like, because of what it is, like, and that's a like a motif in the show, like, it's not personal, it's just politics, and that's the excuse that they give for tearing each other down. And so now we see this thing, and it's really unfortunate to then look at it in real life, and you see all these people, and they've been in government for so long that, like, what does it even look like for them to be human anymore, you know?
Yeah.
It's a very interesting picture that Focus on the Family paints, whether it's intentional or unintentional, of just what does politics do to people and good people and, like, friendships and things like that.
Yeah, and we're supposed to see, like, oh, like, they were being manipulated into this, but it doesn't feel like it. Like, the most manipulation Zoe does is... like, because they would have found out the info about what clubs were voting for who regardless.
Yeah.
So, like, she expedited that, I guess.
Yeah.
And then, like the most Zoe did was, like, just be a bad moderator. She didn't even egg them on that much. It's just, like, I don't know. The whole thing of, like, yeah, they were being manipulated doesn't really feel like it's the point. It's, like, the point is more, like, they let the competition get the better of them. Yeah,
well, and there's a lot of, like, this episode follows all of the stereotypical trademarks as to, like, what's kind of bad about politics, and, like, in the arguments that they have, like, oh, you took that out of context, and blah, 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 and, like, very much a, like, oh, I'm defensive because you're doing this, and, like, I do this, but you're also like this, and you know, very much just this aggressive, like, tear the other person down so that you're the only one left kind of tactic. And it's unfortunate because that feels to be the way that our political system works.
Yeah, especially right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. In a great headspace.
The
other thing I would like to point out is, unless something has changed, Mr. Whitaker is still the one in charge of kids radio. Why did he allow that to broadcast?
Could have been sleeping.
It's just
taking
like
a nap.
It's like, how was he not around to help moderate, or like, why was he completely hands off and allowing these two people to just, like, yell at each other and not have any repercussions? And I think the answer is just, like,
to make a point.
Well, partially to make a point, partially because, like, they just don't have weight in this episode, probably because, you know, they only can have so many people in for budgetary reasons.
Yeah.
But, like, yeah, that was...
well,
rough.
And it would also, like, throw something very different into the episode, because the episode revolves entirely around school, for Mr. Whitaker to insert himself in, with the only connection being the debate.
But that's what Whit does.
That's fair. Very in line with his character.
Yeah. And then, so we end on...
Maury being suspect.
Yeah, I mean, I guess.
Everything worked out exactly how it should have.
Right.
I'm gonna go hang out with my sister.
Yep. And then we end on a scene between Matthew and Olivia where they're talking about, like, oh, we're gonna have to break it to our parents that they're no longer gonna be first parents.
Yeah.
Which is really fun. And Matthew's like, oh, yeah, I'll have to, you know, Dad was already asking when he could see a tour of the Oval Office, assuming, like, the cowboy allowed us to keep that janitor's closet. And then maybe my favorite joke of the episode is Olivia saying he was already starting to call their bedroom Camp David.
Yeah.
Because their dad's name is David.
Yep.
And Camp David is the president's retreat away from the White House. And it is so
perfect.
funny that that's what they went with.
Parker for
I
president.
love the joke. I don't know, like I imagine it also is a joke that goes over a lot of children's heads.
Oh yeah,
But it's great, and I love it.
yeah, so good, so good. Well, that's the episode.
That's the episode, dude. We got through an episode. Predictions for the future.
Ugh.
Or just, I don't know. I mean, we already threw out our theories about this episode.
Yeah,
but
I think Maury obviously rigged the election. I don't know.
rigged it is
no, not
strong.
rigged it. I think that Maury is a power player that is not
Yes.
known. He's an anonymous
Right.
power player.
Right. So he intentionally pitted the two of them against each other through Zoe so that he could then get Emily as a write-in candidate is what we're hypothesizing.
Or he knew, or he genuinely was not caring and then realized that Emily was the better one,
Right.
and
That's the
along
thing.
the way
He might have
figured it
just
out.
that's exactly it. Was this the plan from the beginning to get Emily as president, or was he just stirring up drama for fun and then realized like, oh, Emily would be good for president. Let me make that happen.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's interesting.
Well, Odyssey follows this theme where it's like Odyssey is a place that has these very deep, embedded morals, and so for a bad guy to come in to have any effect, they have to shake it up and kind of not necessarily attack those morals, but make them a little bit less clear.
Right. So any character who shows up, like you can tell, like, oh, Maury's going to be like somewhat of a villain here because he is because you can tell Maury's going to be somewhat of a villain here because he is immediately like not operating with the same moral code as everyone else is just by default.
Yeah. Yeah. For
And
sure.
so that like sets up like, oh, okay, this is a guy to be like on the lookout for.
Yeah.
But I like that he like seems nice. He's not like a bully.
And that
He's
Emily
just-
was good. Like Emily was clearly a good
Yeah,
candidate.
yeah, absolutely. That's the other thing is it's like, could any of them have been good candidates? Yes. Like I really don't think it mattered too much who won. But after like things got so ramped up, pushing for Emily to win was a really nice resolution. And also, I think helped mend things between the siblings.
Mm-hmm.
That they don't have to be like, oh, one of us lost and one of us won.
Yeah.
Like, it works out really nicely in that way that we have a winner who is a friend of both of theirs and outside of it.
Mm-hmm. And has proven to be a moral, upstanding character.
Yeah.
So out of 5 stars, what would you give in this one?
Oh, gosh. Are we going to keep doing this?
We don't have to.
I personally don't know that I want to.
Yeah, I know. The reason I brought it up is because you intentionally hate the 5-star scale.
Yeah, it's just... I don't know what to compare it to.
Enjoyment.
Right. I much rather would say just like, I really enjoyed listening to this episode. I like a lot of the stuff that it's doing. And as you just heard, like, I don't really have criticisms to lobby against it.
No, I liked what it had to say, and I liked the outcome. It was just delightful all around. Yeah. I mean, it was weird getting to know these new characters, but they weren't bad. I like Matthew. I love all of them.
This episode, I think, did a good job of establishing all these characters
as likable individuals.
Well, and also for someone who's just jumping... Like, I'm jumping in on the second track of the 11th album, or the 10th album with these characters.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I like how quickly it establishes who they all are for someone who doesn't really have greater context of them.
Yeah. No, definitely very strong.
Yeah,
Good
it's
feeling.
it's a good start. And I will go as far, while I won't give it a star rating, I will go as far as to say I think the 85% that it has on the wiki is a little low.
Yeah, oh, for sure. No, I would give it at least a 90.
Like, compared to other shows that other episodes that we have covered, I think that user rating is on the lower end.
Yeah, I don't really have much to complain about. I don't
Yeah,
think that they handled it poorly, really, at all.
I like it all around.
Way to come out New Odyssey. All right, let's go.
I know. I'm
Now I'm happy.
I'm so like looking forward to covering this, and yeah.
Come along with us.
Yeah,
Tweet at us.
Yeah.
If you've never heard it before, give us your fan theories. Hashtag please dear God, do not spoil the Rydell Saga for Dylan and Andrew. Andrew will cry, and Dylan will have to deal with that.
I don't know if that's 280 characters, but it probably would fit. Give it a shot. If anybody tweets that at me, I'll at least like it.
Yeah.
All right. Other things. Oh, okay. Anything else you want to say about the episode? Okay. Then, greater context show. We have a couple new reviews on Apple Podcasts.
Oh, awesome.
That I've been holding out on reading because it's felt a little self-congratulatory to do that on a guest episode.
Yeah.
If you would like to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or another podcast app, we would love that. That is so fun, and we will read 5-star reviews out on the podcast. We check the US and Canada iTunes or Apple Podcasts reviews. If you leave a review on a different podcast app or from a different country or whatever, super cool. Just shoot us an email or a tweet or something to let us know so that we can find that and read it. We have to search out for each of those individually.
Yeah. It's fun because we do the show almost entirely for us, and so the idea that other people enjoy it is just like, it's delightful.
Yeah.
It's like, oh.
Yeah. So, first off, we have a review left back in August on the Apple Podcasts in Canada from user Magic Rules.
Ooh.
Fun, yet informative. Great reviews in a fun way. Best AIO podcast I've listened to. Keep up the good work, guys. So,
dang.
Thank you to Magic Rules.
Thank you, Magic Rules.
We appreciate your review. And then on the US side of things, we have a 5-star review left the beginning of September by Noah Brown, entitled Cream of the Crop.
Oh.
Easily the most stable of Odyssey fan podcasts, the Wad Fam Chalk Pod is fun, engaging, and hilarious. I listen to every new episode. Thank you guys for keeping people entertained during this troubling time. Clap emoji.
Thanks.
Thank you, Noah Brown. We really appreciate that. That is... Yeah.
As much as you appreciate us, we appreciate you for saying it so much. Because the idea that this show means anything to anyone outside of this room is kind of bonkers to me still.
Yeah.
But it's really cool, and I really, I'm really happy that we're doing this, and I'm excited to cover more and keep going. You know, I'm not gonna lie, I was hitting a little bit of a plateau at post Blackguard. I was kind of like, well, how much longer are we gonna keep doing this? But I'm excited.
Yeah. And this week, in lieu of Andrew and I plugging our own stuff, I would like to plug registering to vote.
Yeah,
that seems
let's
thematically
do it.
relevant. We are at that time of year. Depending on your state, it may have passed. Sorry if that's the case. But yeah, if you are eligible to vote in that you are 18 years old and a citizen of the United States of America, go do that. Please.
We don't care who you vote for.
Oh,
we
no.
just want you to vote.
Just vote. I've got we put in a link in the show notes to vote.org, which has all the ways to vote. You can also check your voter registration there if you're not confident that you are registered, and get details on how to register if you are not registered. Please register to vote. Anyways, that just seemed like the right thing to say there.
Episode about running for office and voting, very topical. It all works out.
I know.
Everything's coming up, Millhouse.
And with all that being said, we will be back next week to talk about episode 804, The Key Suspect.
Bye, guys.
Goodbye.
Wadfam Chalk Pod is a presentation of the Lids Podcast Company. Follow the podcast at Wadfam Chalk Pod on Twitter and Instagram, or email us at wadfamchalkpod@gmail.com. Parker for President was hosted by Dylan Weaver and Andrew Acebo, and edited by Dylan Weaver. And I'm Nathan Haverstick, hoping you'll join us again next time for more of the Wadfam Chalk Pod.